My mother destroyed my college acceptance letters. Then she saw me accept a Nobel Prize on TV. My mother held the Stanford acceptance letter over the kitchen sink and flicked her lighter. The thick cream paper caught fire instantly, the embossed seal bubbling black. She didn't look at me, just watched it burn like junk mail, then turned on the faucet and washed the ashes down the drain. Then she grabbed the next envelope. She burned all 6 acceptance letters that Saturday morning. Stanford, MIT, Caltech, Princeton, Yale, Harvard. Every single one offering full scholarships for biochemistry. She said college was a waste for girls like us, that I'd just get pregnant and drop out anyway, that she'd done fine without education, and so would I. She worked 3 jobs cleaning houses while we lived on food bank donations and subsidized housing. Her version of fine and mine were very different universes. I tried to grab the Princeton letter. She shoved me into the counter hard enough that pain shot through my ribs. Then she burned it while I held my side trying to breathe. When all 6 were ash, she said I had 2 weeks to find a full-time job or get out. I was 18 now, legally an adult. She'd done her duty. I had $340 saved and no car. My phone was on her plan. Every document I needed was locked in her filing cabinet. She'd timed this perfectly for a Saturday, so I couldn't even call the schools until Monday. She'd been planning this since I started bringing home straight A's in middle school. That night I taught myself everything about replacing destroyed acceptance letters. Our spotty internet kept disconnecting, but I found enough. The schools had records of my acceptance, but without original letters containing scholarship codes and enrollment details. Everything would be complicated. I'd need to contact each office individually, prove my identity, request replacements, all while my mother controlled my mail and phone access. The trap was elegant and thorough. Sunday morning, I walked 3 miles to the public library before it opened and waited on the steps. Dr. Patricia Morrison, the reference librarian who'd supervised my work shifts, found me there at 7 a.m. looking like I'd been crying all night, because I had been. She asked what was wrong, and I broke completely. Told her about the burned letters, the 2-week ultimatum, everything. She said 3 words: "We fix this." She drove me to her house and let me use her office to make calls. It was Sunday, so admissions offices were closed, but I left detailed voicemails at all 6 schools. Family emergency, documents destroyed. Here's every piece of identifying information you need to verify me. Dr. Morrison sat through every call taking notes. When I finished, she made grilled cheese and told me about her own mother who'd said girls didn't need PhDs. She'd gotten hers anyway, and spent 30 years in pharmaceutical research before retiring. She said some parents can't handle their children surpassing them, can't celebrate success they never achieved. The validation made me cry again. Monday morning, I went to school, but my mind was gone. I'd left my phone at home because I didn't trust my mother not to check it. Dr. Morrison said she'd take messages if schools called the library. At lunch, I checked email on the school computer. Stanford had already responded. They confirmed my acceptance and would send replacement documentation to whatever address I provided, but my full scholarship was contingent on accepting by April 15th, 3 weeks away. If I didn't formally accept and submit enrollment paperwork by then, they'd offer my spot to someone else. 3 weeks to figure out housing, transportation to California, and how to escape my mother's control. My guidance counselor found me crying in the computer lab and pulled me into his office. Mr. Anderson had written one of my recommendation letters. I told him everything and watched his face cycle through disbelief to rage. He called CPS immediately, reported my mother for educational neglect and emotional abuse. The CPS worker said since I was 18, I was legally an adult. They couldn't intervene in what they classified as a family disagreement. Mr. Anderson argued for 20 minutes, but got nowhere. The system didn't protect 18-year-olds from abusive parents. We were old enough to be kicked out, but not old enough for most assistance programs. The gap was intentional. Dr. Morrison offered me her guest room that afternoon. I almost collapsed from relief. That night, I went home one last time while my mother was at work. I knew her filing cabinet code because she used the same 4 digits for everything. Her birth year. Inside, I found my birth certificate, social security card, immunization records, and surprisingly, my passport from when I was 6. I took everything plus the only photos of my grandmother who died when I was 12, left a note saying I was staying with a friend, a lie to buy time so she wouldn't report me as a runaway. Everything I owned fit in one backpack and a trash bag. I texted from Dr. Morrison's phone saying I'd be back Sunday, then blocked her number and never went home again. Stanford sent replacement documentation by overnight mail. My financial aid covered everything: tuition, room, board, even a book stipend. I accepted immediately, filled out every form, sent everything back certified mail. MIT and CALTECH sent similar packages, but I'd already committed. 3 weeks of constant emails and phone calls to replace what my mother destroyed in 3 minutes. But eventually it was official. I was going to Stanford and she couldn't stop it because she didn't know where I lived anymore. But he showed up at the library 6 days later, demanded to know where I was, accused Dr. Morrison of kidnapping. That's when things got out of control. Full story is linked below or on my channel.